OK， 大家早安啊，早安啊！这个开场一样，喜欢我们直播，欢迎点赞、订阅、开启小铃铛，然后一起来直播上面聊天哦。今天是这个更新后的波斯的战役啊 ，Is mine。那是波斯人，所以我们现在看一下波斯的历史文件吧。波斯上古文明在公元前就存在了，在公元前4世纪被亚历山大所征服，但亚历山大的帝国大家知道嘛，在亚历山大死后就崩解了，然后波斯人就重整。但是在公元前3世纪之后呢，就受到罗马人的侵袭。波斯帝国从美索不达米亚到印度，从里海到波斯湾，范围很大，包括伊朗、伊拉克、伊朗、阿富汗。然后为了要把这个势力延伸到叙利亚、土耳其、巴勒斯坦、以色列、埃及跟阿拉伯，那就是跟罗马人还有拜占庭人作战。那首都是巴格达。在3到4世纪之间，罗马人企图征服波斯，然后4世纪中期的时候签了一个和平条约。6世纪开始之后，波斯人展开对拜占庭的攻击，持续拉锯，曾经围攻拜占庭人失败，然后拜占庭反攻，直到7世纪两个帝国才这个在精疲力竭中让大家和平，就是打累了。7世纪的时候。对于这个信奉伊斯兰教的阿拉伯人没有好防备，然后萨珊王朝就因此在战乱中结束，而且也没有一个像君士坦丁堡可以这样子防御防守的一个首都，所以在651年的时候就被回教徒征服了。波斯，建王造完第一周 TC 就送你50木跟50食物，给你一点经济加成。然后 TC 跟码头血量2倍，像 TC 一般是2400啊，还有4800，很扛啊。然后工作速度在黑暗到帝王有加速，就是包括你升渔船啊，或者是升这个村民会有差，但是码头的加速应该是不止升渔船啊，升这些船也都有加速，这样子蛮强的。然后第3个加成是城堡时代之后可以研发安闲战术，就是马弓的一个一般要帝王才能研发的一个科技。帝王时代可以建造商队旅馆，跟这个印度斯坦人一样，可以建造这个治疗车队还有提升速度的这个商队旅馆。特务单位是战象，这个血量很多的走很慢的单位。那血量有到450，攻击很高，15攻，甚至有扩散伤害。可是太肉量是170，大概一只骑士是65吧，就是60，将近一只骑士的3倍。黄金差不多，可是这个肉量很多，然后银冠是波斯工兵，你的工兵系不需要黄金了，全部用木头取代。然后金冠波斯堡垒，城堡会发射弹丸而不是箭矢，那弹丸对冲撞车跟步兵伤害是有增加的，而且攻击力加4，然后城堡受到的加成伤害减25。团队加成是你的骑士系对工兵系的伤害有增加。然后看一下军事建筑吧。射箭场的话是基本上是打马弓或是步工兵也可以，可是步工兵没有强弩嘛，因为它的免金工兵如果搭配上强弩兵会太强。那马弓的话看起来是全满的，可是因为它没有3级射，所以波斯工兵到帝王之后没有未来，包括马弓，所以才在城堡的时候给他安息人，让他在城堡时代的马弓是很齐全的。军营的部分的话呢，没有民兵系完全不能玩了，虽然有攻击软甲，可是没给你双手剑兵跟剑兵勇士。但是骑兵 OK， 骑兵也是都满的。马就是波斯的招牌菜了，品种跑速、大肉马、骆驼，甚至有骆驼，而且还有萨瓦尔。波斯专属的游侠，它是145滴血、14攻、3近防、4远防。那一般人的游侠嘞是160滴血，所以血量只有差15滴而已。可是游侠的防御是2近防、3远防，所以被城堡社之类的萨瓦尔更能扛。然后升级的费用来说，游侠也比较贵一点点，刚刚萨瓦尔是1500这样子。工人器的话是，蛮齐的有重冲有火炮，就差没重头而已。然后兵工厂刚刚有说了嘛，没有3级射，所以工兵单位基本上都没有什么未来啊。那海军的话其实是全满的，除了造船员，因为造船员，波斯的码头本来就有内建加速了，再给造船员可能会太强。可是我觉得这样会导致波斯的那个木材的花费量比较高，而且生产速度也没有人家快，所以这个码头我觉得波斯海军应该也是不强了。没有工程师啊，蛮伤的，工程的力道会弱蛮多的。然后城堡时代的科技都有，修道院更是惨呐，没血量，没赎罪，没救赎。 然后经济科技没什么特别的。OK， 好，那我们就开始今天的 It's Mine。今天第一关，红帽。
I came here with a quest for vengeance. For years, I have sulked in cowardice, but the time is finally upon me. I come to slay Shah Ismail, the bane of my existence. These decrepit streets are the last place that I ever expected to find him. But underneath that unkempt beard and blasphemous stench, I know those eyes anywhere. If I were to finish the deed here and now, I could finally enjoy a night of peace. Yet as he sits there stone-faced, my head now races with questions. Why does he not recognize me, the sister of his former confidant? How much longer can he hurt what remains of my pride? I must know. Vengeance is a feeling that Ismail knows as well as I. His father was the Grand Master of the Safavid Order, a group of so-called radicals who for generations had promised salvation to a Persia still reeling from Tamerlane's invasion. Back then, these lands were ruled by a federation of tribes called the Ak-Koyunlu. Some of us Turkomans constituted their ruling elite, but others, such as myself and my brother, suffered under their reign. And we were eager to liberate ourselves from their watchful eyes. Together with their ally Faruk Yassar of Shirvan, the Ak-Koyunlu had tried to destroy the Safavids for years. When they killed the infant Ismail's father in battle and locked the boy away, it seemed as though they had finally succeeded. Yet the order survived, and after years of private training, the now 12-year-old Ismail set out to seek his revenge. His first priority was to slay Faruk Yassar and avenge the father that he never knew.
以斯玛因要活着，带到这个埃尔金詹，位阶低下125人口，只能到城堡。竞争对手蛮多的，尽量避免战斗。可以生渔船，土库曼人招募土库曼人，或者是突袭兵工厂。然后这关是要打 Georgia， 你一开始无法建造城堡，但杀死这个法鲁克就可以接管，然后训练战将。杀死他的时间越拖越久，他就越强。我伊斯玛因跟这个萨法维的随护黄色，就是我们正在逃离绿色，目标是这个埃尔金詹。可以在那边建造基地，然后招募土库曼人。红色是我们的友军。伊斯玛因主要的对象是肖岸青色哦，忠于白羊的半独立国家。谢万由法鲁克统治。北部山区有乔治亚，没有直接威胁，但是可以去袭击他们，舒服。然后亚美尼亚目前居住在另外的300种，没有太多士兵，所以感觉是可以欺负了，是不是？走起！
It is not safe here, young Ismail. We must hurry to Erzincan before the Akkoyunlu hunt us down.
好像好了，这样讲也没有不行啊。
You have made the impossible possible today. Let us rest for the night, for we have many adventures to share.
It breaks my heart to think that I once swore loyalty to this haggard. Yet there was a time that Ismail was the epitome of a valiant leader. I still remember the first time that we met him. My tribe was among the lucky few in Anatolia that he personally invited to ride with him to Erzincan. For weeks, my brother would not stop talking about this captivating, fearless youth. Once we arrived in Erzincan, he told us that Allah had commanded him to free us from the tribal life of generational bickering that we were all too used to. Such claims were not uncommon, but his intense conviction, firm as the blade of his shamshir, made us certain that he spoke the truth. He dubbed his soldiers the Kizilbash, the red hats for the 12 pleated garments that they were to adorn themselves with in battle. Embarrassed as I am to admit it, I still keep my brothers as a reminder of our youth, and of all the possibilities that it once promised. Strong-willed though Ismail was, he was also uncommonly generous. No sooner had his troops sacked Shirvan than he distributed the plunder among them. They were the only true family that he ever had, and he knew how to make everyone feel important to the cause. Looking back, I should have known all along how paranoid this boy truly was.
好，再来就第二关咯，王室之路。
I have fixated on Ismail's leftover kebab this whole time, which he seems to have picked up on. I am skeptical of his generosity, but with all of my lingering questions, I will be needing all of the energy that I can get. Despite the fall of Shirvan, the Ak-Koyunlu were only battered, not broken. Panicked by Ismail's swift rise, they assembled their forces near the village of Sharur, a place of strategic importance between his camps in the southern Caucasus and their capital of Tabriz. Although Ismail was horrifyingly outnumbered, the promise of battle lit a fire in him which spread to his men. They laid their lives at his disposal, for they knew that their leader was also ready to confront whatever fears they had.
打败白羊，绿色，把20个军队送到陶里市，占领它。紫色，摧毁亚美尼亚市集、兵工厂跟贸易工坊。好嘞，摧毁橘色的东西。一样城堡125，跟我们的盟友7只俄巴蛇兵，红色。好，白羊需要时间，行。黄金缺乏，要收集任务掠夺庄园，或者是跟你的兄弟贸易。我们在这个山脚下建立了营队。绿色在西边，南边有这个陶里市城，可以透过俘虏青色来削弱。北边有乔治亚，哎呼啊！橘色在中间，好，尽量不贸易。
We have been underdogs for far too long. Once we are rid of these tyrants, we will march on Tabriz and forge a new empire. From there, we will spread our cause.
这只大象踩进来喽！
Let us share this moment together. For today, Persia rises again.
As Khanais announced Ismail's arrival in Tabriz, the charismatic boy emerged Shah of Persia. The Safavid order was now the Safavid Empire. As Ismail's army entered the Grand Palace, nays and tombaks sounded in revelry of their victory as they beheld the wonders of their new capital. Yet as I watched the procession, I worriedly noticed my brother's absence. I knew he would never have missed the chance to celebrate such a victorious, joyful moment. Fearing the worst, I left and scoured the battlefield. After hours of frantic searching, I found my brother lying among a host of slain Ak-Koyunlu, the moonlight illuminating his lifeless face. My heart shattered as my pained cry pierced the air. I thought that I had calloused myself to these wounds, but the truth resurfaces like a knife as I unearth these suppressed memories. How I long to drive that knife into Ismail.
第三关，亚历山大萨菲。
When I finished my meal, I noticed a scrap of parchment which the Shah had dropped on the floor. One of his old poems. I am the Alexander of my contemporaries, the words of the younger Ismail declared. However much I have tried to suppress the words inked on this greasy note, they remain etched into my heart. Perhaps it was just the Greek blood from his mother's side of the family, but from the very beginning, the self-proclaimed Alexander of the Safavids coveted all of Persia, and he was determined to conquer it at the point of a sword. Having secured his new capital, this ambition now seemed within reach. Crippled though they were by their defeat, the Ak-Koyunlu were still not content to surrender peacefully. Indeed, after the loss of Tabriz, they were now fighting for their very survival. Ismail, naturally, was thrilled to put his abilities to the ultimate test. 20 steadfast Safavids, he declared, would overcome 200 Ak-Koyunlu.
好，要摧毁白羊的城镇中心跟城堡，然后击败巴格达。现在可以到帝王了。好，波斯人的 TC 比较坚固。好嘞，黄色抵达东北边了。绿色在内陆的高地，青色会替他提供这些兵力。OK， 鄂图曼有个北边的哨站，把它处理掉。TC 爆很难我可能不太会哦。
Let us waste no time in fulfilling our grand mission. Our longtime adversaries are finally vanquished. Now, all of Persia is ours to rule.
For all of the endless triumphs that Ismail recounts to me, those days will always be tainted by melancholy. By the time that the Ak-Koyunlu met their demise, any semblance of family within the Kizilbash was lost. Their days were now spent quelling uprisings of ever-increasing frequency, usually without Ismail's direct supervision. One evening, during one of Ismail's many feasts, I raised my cup in memory of my brother. Instead of honoring his fallen comrade, Ismail ignored me and yelled boisterously at his musicians to play another song. Was this truly the incorruptible figure that my brother had given his life to serve? The carousing, apathetic stranger in that hall bore no resemblance to the benevolent soul that my brother had once adored. That was when it finally dawned on me that Ismail, the divine Shah, and Alexander of the Safavids was just as fallible as any of us. 第4关，堕落的艾米尔。 Hearing the Shah tell of those days, I feel the same wounds puncture my heart once more. Not once has he mentioned my brother's name or his daring feats. If not for my curiosity, I would have silenced this wretched man hours ago. But the details that I crave the most are yet to come. One day, a visitor arrived from the east seeking aid and shelter. His master was the Timurid leader, Babur, who hoped to reclaim his homeland of Transoxiana from the rapacious Uzbek warlord, Shaybani Khan. As Babur and Ismail both were avid lovers of poetry, the Timurid was confident that our Shah would happily answer the call. Yet for all of their similarities, Ismail loathed the thought of being compared to this mortal, as he described him. In accepting Babur's request for an alliance, Ismail hoped not for an enduring partnership, but an opportunity to supplant the Uzbeks from the historic Persian region of Khorasan, from which they had been launching raids against his new holdings. Khorasan rightfully belonged to the Timurids, but its links to the Silk Road trade made it one of the wealthiest regions in the world. Ancient shahs such as Cyrus and Yazdegerd had thriven off of its riches, and as uprisings became increasingly common throughout Persia, Ismail believed that this territory was the key to protecting his throne. Although they swore to fulfill the Shah's wishes, there was an unspoken consensus among the Kizilbash that Ismail was overextending himself. Deep inside, they knew that they were headed for a breaking point.
我们要打败那个上次的乌兹别克人，占领梅尔夫，然后可以杀死这个西班尼汉。我们可以到150人口帝王时代。中亚的河川有鱼，但是没有战舰。把布尔控制萨尔马罕之后，就会训练军队。西班尼汉被消灭之后，这个我们的这个奇兹尔巴蛇兵就形成独立的派系。然后占领了赫拉特之后，就会这个我们的盟友就会占领这个基地，然后可以贸易。好，我们来到了呼罗珊地区，要夺走梅尔夫，然后巴布尔在东边，前往巴布尔的要塞都会经过赫拉特城，就是我们上次玩巴布尔的战役没有经过那个城蓝色。然后还有巴布尔旧都萨尔马罕在北边。乌兹别克的主力部队在中边跟西边的城跟郊区。好，解支线的话，杀一下西班尼汉。
You'll regret your provocations once you are groveling at my feet. Shame on you.
来，存了。
Three of Gazdavan's castles lie in ruin. Now is our chance to take the city. Wait, what is going on? Why are you just stalling? Enough! All this senseless destruction, and for what? To breed more hostility? Our patience has run out. Oh, if only you had foreseen the descent in your ranks, Ismail, we would have prevailed. Now I am forced to migrate to India, never to see my beloved Transoxiana again. Allah gives and Allah takes. Good riddance. At least Khorasan is mine to keep.
Like a lion complacent to its privilege, power can corrupt even the savviest of leaders. Ismail's misadventures in Central Asia made the Kizilbash keenly aware of how power had changed him. Consumed by his tireless vanity, his soft words of wisdom were now replaced by fits of rage. As old tribal feuds began to re-emerge, only the fear of retribution still held their loyalty intact. Questioning Ismail about what happened at Gazdavan, he blames his unruly commander for not keeping his subordinates in check. Yet, as much as he denies it by his tongue, his stubborn temper reveals everything to me. Deep inside, I think he knows that Babur surpassed him in many ways. That chronic underdog never took his victories for granted. Even as the Fergana Valley was lost to him forever, he remained steadfast as he crossed the Hindu Kush to start anew. This type of resilience always eluded Ismail, who never accepted that he was capable of making mistakes. Whether or not the Kizilbash were ready to admit it, they secretly wished that he would learn to value this lesson. Then one day, their hopes finally came true, and in the most horrific way possible. 那我们就看第5关咯，卡塔伊。 Knowing where this story is inevitably headed, I find myself tensing with dread. For this is where the Alexander of the Safavids was knocked from his pedestal, a fall that has led him here, to these desolate outskirts of his capital. Ismail's demise began not in Persia, but in the ever-growing Ottoman Empire. A man named Shah Kulu attempted a coup against the ruling dynasty. much like Ismail had rallied his own followers to depose the Ak Koyunlu. Although Shakulu's uprising proved unsuccessful, it was clear now to the Ottomans that Ismail's sway over their Turkoman subjects was no longer possible to ignore. A year later, Selim the Grim ascended to the Turkish throne, the victor of a strenuous civil war. In an act befitting his name, the new sultan rounded up 40,000 Safavid sympathizers and had them all executed, blaming Ismail for infecting the minds of his rightful subordinates. He sent scathing letters his way. Still convinced of his own immortality, Ismail failed to take Selim's threat seriously, even pitying this unknown adversary. To him, this mysterious detractor was just like all others, foolish enough to incur his wrath. This conflict culminated in the two leaders gathering at the plains of Chaldiran, not far from the Safavid capital. What happened next, I am loath to mention, but I can already see the anguish dawning over Ismail's face as he opens his lips.
打败鄂图曼军队，你的盟友不能被击败，所以红色要活着。200人口，旗帜8蛇最近士气不好，要夺回圣物推车。桃李市有战利品，保护国库。好，有很多对手，有紫色火药战队，青色又是希尔万，又来，还有乔治亚人，乔治亚人跟亚美尼亚人都在哦，酷啊！还有乌兹别克人呢，真的好惨哦。我们需要一个欧洲盟军，阿方索，好。
My Shah, we are outnumbered. We should wait until nightfall to launch our attack.
Silence! Numbers have never thwarted me in the past, and these Turks are no exception.
Perfect. We have the Shah right at his haughtiest. Forward, march!
Pride is lost, yet this empire still stands. Have I overlooked my true greatness all along?
Salam.
I am not sure.
Thousands of men lost their lives that day. But the greatest casualty in Ismail's mind was his image as an immortal ruler, which had been forever shattered. Gradually succumbing to doubts and darker thoughts, he would never be the same. Yet for the first time since I found him here, this wretched man sounds sincere, as if he has reverted to his younger self. I now feel a tingling of pity for the man that I had once admired. However wrongly he has treated his devoted followers, I cannot deny his greatness. From an early age, he overcame hardship, impossible expectations, and his own pride to forge the mightiest Persian dynasty in over a millennium. Ever since Ismail's fall 10 years ago, I have anxiously dreamt of vengeance in my fallen brother's name. Yet as I reflect upon everything, the thought now almost cripples me. Weak though my heart grows, I have let Ismail govern my emotions for too long. Now, I am the master of my fate.
那我们今天直播到这边喽，喜欢我们直播欢迎点赞、订阅、开启小铃铛，一起来直播上面聊聊天哦。那我们就先这样子喽，大家明天见，大家拜拜。